again, everyone, and welcome to Infield Fly. It is postseason time, postseason edition of Infield Fly today as the playoffs get underway. I'm Rob Fisher. Keith Murphy, Lang Whitaker are alongside. Keith and I, this is our last show. Lang's going to do it the rest of the way. My Cardinals are out. Keith's Cubs are out. Lang, you got this solo the rest of the way, so enjoy it.
At least I have a week off coming up. We get a week off, and then I have to see what happens when the next round gets started. That's right. The wild card round is set. We'll talk about all those matchups. We'll talk about some of the news around Major League Baseball. A couple of managers have lost their jobs. But first, do want to look back at where we all sit. And Murph, you're the big one, unfortunately, and it's not good news for the Chicago Cubs as you wanted 5 out of 6. Well, you got 5 out of 6, but they were losses against the Braves and against the Milwaukee Brewers. Lost 15 of your last 22. Not to just rub this in, but let me rub this in. But you know, I mean, the Cubs were there, and then it just kind of fell apart. And but I don't know. Watching them over the weekend, Murph, it felt more and more to me like it wasn't a disaster. It was a good step for the Cubs, I think, this year.
Yeah, it's weird because, you know, Fish, we spoke about it at the beginning of the season. No one had this team going this far.
No.
There were talks that this was going to be like a tryout year to see if whether or not Ross was even going to stay. They were like, okay, this is just our chance to kind of evaluate what he is as a manager. And, you know, it's 50-50 with Ross with me right now. Like, on the one hand, I feel like, you know, he mishandled the bullpen too many times and had some weird lineups, relied on the veterans way too much at times. Other times is, hey, we were 10 games under 500 and he had those guys fighting. Like, usually when you're 10 games under 500 in July, teams, they're dead. They're like, it's like the Walking Dead out there. Like, there's no reason for us to even try. And you had those guys trying, like, I'm torn, basically, what I'm saying. I don't know whether or not he's going to be back. Management and ownership have kind of like pat him on the back publicly, saying that, you know, he did a great job. Fans are kind of like, you could imagine the fans were freaking out, especially the last week. Yeah, shit was just ridiculous. Like the way we were losing these games. That I think the backbreaker was with your Braves, Lane, when we had that lead going into the 7th, and then you guys just came up like a conga line and just started just doing craziness out there. I think that broke our back. For all intents and purposes.
The Suzuki air was heartbreaking.
Oh, it was horrible. Now you got me reliving my nightmares. It was horrible, but I just think that for us to get that far is great. I think that we have to take out the checkbook and whatever Cody wants, he gets, and just move on from there. Try to get some bullpen relief. Try to get another starter on the mound because that's, you know, was real fragile going on out there, just depending on one guy to be everything for us. So there's a lot of things we got to do, but I like the Swansby move. I think that was a great move for us. I think Suzuki was better than what I thought he was going to be. Remember, I was complaining about him in the first half, crazy. And second half of the season, he was like one of the best players out there. So we'll see. But it's disappointing. It's a heartbreak. And like you said, losing those games, the way we lost them, Fish, was just very Cubbies.
Punch in the gut. Yeah, it was it was rough. As far as David Ross is concerned, I mean, would you be surprised in the next couple of days if we heard his name?
I don't think they're going to get rid of him, Fish. I don't think they're going to get rid of him. I think they're looking at this as we weren't even supposed to be here, and he had those guys fighting when we're underwater.
And I only ask because Gabe Kapler, to me, was rather similar. As he gets fired, and the general manager said it's because we didn't play our best baseball when it mattered the most.
Except Gabe Kapler's insufferable. Like that,
well,
that's the main difference. Like David Ross is likable. There's a difference there.
But Kapler's one of these analytic guys that gets along with ownership, it seems, because he does it their way. But
well, I mean, right now it just seems like he got rid of he got along with him though, Fish. It looks like there's a reason why, So yeah, I don't know if he's gonna be, especially when I saw Hader and I saw Ricketts out there basically, slapping his back. I mean, maybe sometimes that's the kiss of death. Sometimes when they go out there and pet you on the back and say, "Hey, man, this is our guy," next thing you know, he's out of there. But the Cubs don't roll like that. They're kind of like low key when it comes to that. They don't do the backstabbing thing like that. So I think he'll be around for another year. I think his option is up. I think he's got a 2025 option. So I think he'll be back for another year, and then they'll see. I think that's going to be the year that they're going to judge him.
Well, the good news is for the Cardinals, Ollie Marmol will be back, and he is the first Cardinals manager since 1916 to lose 90 games and not be fired. So congratulations to Ollie for doing that. Second time the Cardinals have finished in last place since 1918. And their first sub 500 season since 2007. The season started with Ollie Marmol throwing some of the players under the bus, in particular Tyler O'Neill. And now Marmol on the exit interview says, "I want a clubhouse full of guys that has one thing on their minds, and it's not themselves. It's winning a championship. So you start out by weeding those out."
Who
are those guys? Arenado, Goldschmidt? Which of the guys you got to get rid of?
I would doubt that he'd mention those
Contreras, probably.
So yeah, there you go. That's from the skipper. He wants to weed out the guys who only think about themselves, because that is not the Cardinal way to think about yourself. It's about thinking about championships. And Ollie did go on to say, he's like, we're not thinking about 2-3 years from now. We're thinking about next year competing for a world championship. So I'll never forget when I saw him in Los Angeles earlier this season. He said, "I can't wait to have that parade down Clark Street and just say, 'Look at me now.'" I don't know when that's coming. But,
sounds like he's thinking about himself.
But
he's saying, "Look at me."
Yes. How about that? That's a great point, Lang.
Thank you.
How is the ownership putting up with that, Fish? Like what?
Because he's their little puppet.
I mean, whenever you see a manager go after the players like that, that's just not good morale.
No. And he did it at the start of the season. It started all the hell this year for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't see that working out. I see one of those managerial moves in the middle of the season for that cat. I think that's what's going to happen.
Gabe Kapler seems like he'd be a good puppet for the management.
Yeah, he'd be good. He may do it the Cardinal way. I don't know. Although the Cardinals might not like tattoos. I don't know. It might be one of their things that they don't allow.
Christ. You're gonna have to cover up the tattoos. What is this? The NBA?
Probably,
what are they talking about? What's going
on? Braves, meanwhile, swept the Cubbies and then lost 2 of 3 to Washington to close out the season. 307 home runs. That ties the 2019 Twins for most in a year. Acuna got stolen base number 73. That's a Braves record. Strider got his 20th win. So good week. Good finishing week for the Braves, and just kept racking up all these accolades on being the first to do this and the first to do that. And so it was a good finishing week, right?
It was really good. I'm glad Strider broke Smoltz's single season strikeout record for the Braves. Get him out of that record book. But the biggest stat to me, like the most incredible stat I saw this week out of all that, was that Acuna finished with 41 home runs, and he had 83 strikeouts on the season. And for a guy who was like such a free swinger earlier in his career, like to show that kind of discipline this season was unbelievable. Keith, our friend Russ Bankson from New York, was in town last week, and we were watching the game one night, and Acuna came up to bat, and he was like, "Wait a minute, Acuna's batting like 320 something?" And I was like, "Yeah, like he's hitting for average and power and steals, like the whole thing." The biggest thing to me this week though was like, last year the Braves get into the playoffs and then just come in flat. And I've seen it over and over since the 90s, where the Braves would have the division sewn up with a couple of weeks left, and then they kind of coast into the playoffs. So I that Cubs series, I thought that was great to see them actually show a little fight and a little spirit, because they've been kind of down since they clinched in Philly a couple weeks ago. For them to come from behind, and I mean, part of that was Cubs put Steve Bartman in right field for that game, but the way that the Braves were able to come from behind and they show some fight, show some spirit, and sweep the Cubs in that series. Then the National Series, like, they were just trying not to get people hurt. Acuna got like one at bat and they took him out of the game. And then this week they've already announced they're going to do scrimmages at Truist Park and open it up to fans, and they have what they call competitive scrimmages, which they didn't do last year. So I don't know what that means, but it probably is a chance to get the guys a little bit more locked in and playing against each other and have a little excitement and fun, and maybe go into to whoever we play in the NLCS and be a little bit more locked in.
Yeah, and they're professional athletes. They'll put a little something on it, probably.
You think
when you play these scrimmages, put a little something extra to
I think that's why they'll have. There'll probably be a lot of fans there. I would imagine 5,000-10,000 people show up for this thing.
Because there are a lot of people who want to go to the playoff games who won't be able to.
Those are all sold out. Yeah. So it'll probably be a good chance for a lot of people to go and take it in, and when there's fans there, like the players, they tend to like crank it up one little notch or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this the biggest attendance that you've had, Lane, this season for Braves fans? It's like this.
No, I think they were mostly sold out all year. In terms of like actual numbers of people at the games, it's probably less than Turner Field or at Fulton County Stadium, because those were just bigger stadiums. This is a little bit of a smaller park, but I don't know. I would imagine it'll be electric once the games actually start there.
Yeah, percentage of capacity, it might be the best they've ever had, because as you said, it was a sellout almost every night. One of the big stories this week with the Braves was when Acuna reached 70 stolen bases, and it was or first let me mention this. You said 41 homers, 83 strikeouts, just the third player in Braves history to hit 40 homers and strike out fewer than 85 times, joining Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews. So, pretty good company there. But Acuna steals his 70th base against the Cubs, and then he Ricky Henderson's everybody by taking the base out of the dirt and putting it above his head. And I don't know if he said I'm the greatest of all time, but it had that feel. And apparently the Cubs broadcasters did not take too kindly to it. They thought it was a little excessive. And I was listening to the game the next night, and Boog Shambi was on with Jim Deshaies, and Boog said, he was like, apparently some people were upset with the way that we talked about Ronald Acuna. And the only thing he had to say about it was, he said, to quote a good friend of ours, you need to calm down. And then, of course, Taylor Swift. And so it was, that's all they would say about it the next night.
I think they also said they were upset that the Braves showed like a video tribute in the moment on the scoreboard. I mean, the part that I get, it was in the bottom of the 10th when it happened, and it was like a tie game.
Right. That's what people were pissed at.
It was like the Braves were trying to come from behind, and it's the bottom of the 10th, and Acuna steals second, and that happens. And then, I mean, I don't know if you can draw a direct line from that to that, but there's a break. They take out the base. They show the thing. It was like maybe 3-4 minutes. It wasn't that long. But then they start playing again. On the next pitch, Ozzie Albies singles, and Acuna comes in and scores, and the Braves win the game. So, like, I don't know if that little break delay hurt the pitcher or whatever, but it was sort of coincidental that happened right away.
Murph, were you upset about it, Murph?
I was a bit miffed. Wasn't upset. I was just miffed that they.
I mean, how about this? If you don't want to have a break and all that stuff, just throw him out when he steals second.
Listen,
or don't let him steal second.
Listen, I think my main beef, and it wasn't a big beef. I wasn't like, hair on fire like the commentators. Come on. Yeah. But just the fact it was the 10th inning when it happened.
Yeah,
that's what got me. It's like,
also, Boog Shambi used to be a Braves announcer. Like, so there's got to be some like weird, to quote Taylor Swift again, there might be some bad blood there. I don't know.
Jeez.
All right. Well, there you go. Braves, you'll have a week off before you take on your next opponent, which will be the winner of Miami at Philadelphia, one of the wild card rounds. Miami at Philadelphia. Now, just to remind everybody, these wild card rounds, they are 3-game series, best of 3. All 3 games are played in one park. So Miami will be in Philadelphia for 3 games and have to win 2 out of 3. Philadelphia the biggest favorite going into this wild card round. Philadelphia -210, Miami at +170. It's the Marlins' 4th playoff berth in franchise history, which is amazing because only 4 times, and they've won 2 World Series.
Yeah.
So, but 4th time, Philadelphia in the postseason for the 2nd straight year. Miami did win the season series 7-6. Today in Game 1, it's Jesus Luzardo for Miami. He's 3-0 all time against Philadelphia, including 2-0 this season.
All right.
And Zach Wheeler will go for the Phillies. Game 2, we'll see Braxton Garrett for Miami against Aaron Nola. So Philadelphia going Wheeler and Nola in games 1 and 2. I imagine Lorenzen would be set up for game 3, but that one at this point at least is TBA. I like Miami. They're scrappy.
Yep.
They're kind of fun to watch. Their pitching is kind of like, I think you go into games saying things like, who the hell's Jesus Luzardo? And then he comes out and pitches really well.
Yep.
Braxton Garrett's been really good pitching. They got good hitting. Soler being back is huge. Arise getting on base in games. I think they're dangerous. And because everybody in the country is talking about Philadelphia being the team that nobody wants to face, and people even picking Philadelphia to go to the World Series, I don't know. This will be interesting. I like Miami in game 1 because I think Philadelphia might be a little overconfident taking on Miami in this game.
I went to a Marlins Phillies game this season in Miami.
That's right.
I saw the Marlins beat the Phillies, the game I went to, and I saw them drill Bryce Harper and knock him out of the game I went to. So we know they can beat them. I playing in Philly. That's a pretty big advantage for the Phillies, I think. But I kind of feel like it's a toss up between these two teams.
Yeah, and Phillies might have the 2nd best lineup in the National League. I mean,
well, offensively, yes.
I mean, they're the way that Turner's hitting, Castellanos is hitting, Harper's hitting,
Schwarber.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the Braves lineup better. I'd probably still take the Dodgers lineup over Philadelphia, but Philly is their lineup's really good. It's just their pitching's too inconsistent for me. Nola, Wheeler, and Lorenzen, they can be great in one outing and just be okay in the next outing. So
I just think the Marlins are used to them, like they know them. You understand what I'm saying? Like sometimes a team just knows the lineup, they know how to pitch around a lineup. I think that they just have their number for some reason. I know it was 7-6, I know it was close, but a lot of those games were close.
Yeah.
A lot of those games came down to the wire, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like the Phillies was just out there just knocking them out against them. So I got the Marlins winning that series.
Well, and obviously in a 3-game series, game 1 is so huge. If the Marlins can take game 1, then all of a sudden you got 2 games to win 1. So game 1's massive, but I like I think of all the potential upsets in this wild card round, this is the one that I give the biggest chance to. And it's the biggest, and it would be the biggest upset in the first round, with Miami being +170. But I don't know. We'll see. That one gets started today as well. And the winner of Miami Philadelphia takes on the Braves. Lang, who would you rather see? It's Miami, right?
Probably Miami. Although, like, the Braves have, Philly knocked us out last year, and I think the Braves would probably like some redemption. Against them, but I would say I'd rather play Miami than Philly, and also, like, in the next round it's home and home, and I'd rather play games in Miami than at Philly, just because at Miami it's going to be half Braves fans in the stands anyway.
True. Yeah, no doubt. So Miami and Philadelphia best of 3. The other National League wild card is Arizona at Milwaukee. That winner will take on Los Angeles. Milwaukee, a big favorite as well, at -175. Arizona at +150. Arizona's first playoff berth since 2017. Milwaukee, 3rd division title in the last 6 years. However, they got bad news yesterday. Brandon Woodruff, game 2 starter for the Brewers, is now out of the playoffs with a shoulder injury. He had a 2.59 ERA since August 1st. It was the 2nd best in baseball behind only Snell. But he's the number 2 starter, but they'll have to fill in with Wade Miley in that 2 spot. Milwaukee has won 26 of their last 37. Arizona won the season series 6-4, but all 3 games will be in Milwaukee. Game 1 starter Brandon Pfaadt for Arizona, 3-9 with a 5.72 ERA against Corbin Burns, who's 10-8 with a 3.39. Zach Gallen will go game 2 for Arizona. Merrill Kelly game 3. Milwaukee has not announced their game 2 or 3 starter at this point. I like Milwaukee a lot.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
I like Arizona.
You do?
You do? Wow. Okay.
They're scrappy. I like the way they play. I like Arizona.
They play good baseball. They run the bases well. They make contact. They do. They do. They play baseball well.
Yeah.
Right. And then they got decent pitching. I mean, Zach Gallen's going game 2, so they'll be favored in game 2. In one of them, Merrill Kelly or Brandon Pfaadt, who was good in his last outing. One of them has got to be better. But their lineup's pretty good. Milwaukee, though, and I was with you for a minute when I was thinking about this series. I was leaning towards Arizona, but Milwaukee's just played really well. 26-11 in their last 37 games. Their pitching's been really good, even without Woodruff. I think Wade Miley steps in, and he's really good. And then once you get to their bullpen's lights out. So I like Milwaukee mainly because of their pitching and just because of the way that they've been playing down the stretch. They've been really good.
All right.
Yeah, I like them. Listen, I just think they're just a better team. It's not a sexy series, man. It just feels like, no. It's like it is what it is. I just think they're the better team. They got the better lineup. I think they got the better offense. I think it's a wash in pitching. But I think when it comes to the offense, I think they're going to just be too much for Arizona.
Yeah, I like Milwaukee. And again, -175 for Milwaukee to win the series. Arizona at +150. And then a couple of good matchups in the American League, including Toronto at Minnesota. No favorite in this one. They're both -110 to win the series. So this one, their calling is even as can be. The winner will take on Houston. Minnesota clinched the division for the 3rd time in 5 years under Rocco Baldelli. Twins have lost 18 straight postseason games, 13 of them to the New York Yankees. Haven't won a playoff game since 2004. They are at home. They're going to be jacked. The crowd's going to be jacked up as well. Toronto, Minnesota split the 6-game season series today. It's Gasman, Kevin Gausman going against Pablo Lopez. Game 2, the Twins will go with Sonny Gray, and the Toronto Blue Jays have yet to name their starter for games 2 or 3, but they have a pretty good stable of guys that they can throw in there for game 2 or 3. I think Toronto's pitching is better, except Gausman scares me. Lang, you have me scared on Gausman because he can be great or he can be awful.
Yeah, the gas man. I mean, the Braves couldn't get rid of him fast enough. I don't know. Like I feel like Toronto should win that series. Like
they should.
Just looking at the lineups and the rosters.
Yeah, man for man, they are much better.
Yeah, but Minnesota gets home field and they get the fans and they don't have to play the Yankees and maybe for them this is like their chance to kind of like finally break out of this curse that they've been living under for the last whatever decade.
Yeah. I think I like
I'd probably pick Toronto, but I don't know. I wouldn't mind if Minnesota won. That'd be cool.
My problem with Toronto is I've been waiting all year for them to be excellent.
Yeah,
they've been good, but they haven't been excellent. And with that lineup and with the pitching that they have, they should be, and they haven't been. But I'll pick Minnesota. I think it'd be fun to see Minnesota win a series, although I wouldn't give them much of a chance against Houston.
I got Minnesota too. I just think that the Yankees thing, them being out of it, is going to help them immensely. Like I think that's a roadblock. That was a roadblock for them.
Yeah. And then in the other American League matchup, it's the Texas Rangers at Tampa to take on the Rays. Rays are -160 to win this series. Texas at +150. The winner takes on Baltimore. Texas struggled down the stretch, going 18-24 in their last 42 games. Tampa's clinched a playoff spot for the 5th straight season. They're 27-14 since Wander has been left, since Wander's been gone.
Yeah.
Rangers won the season series against Tampa 4-2. How about this? Both teams are going with their ace in game one. Tyler Glasnow for Tampa against Jordan Montgomery for the Rangers, who is now their ace.
I'd probably, I mean, don't you think out of all these teams that we've talked about, that Tampa's probably the hottest one right now?
Yep.
I mean,
under the radar hot too.
Yeah, they're 27-14 since Wander got jettisoned. So
Yeah.
I'd probably go with Tampa. I just think, in baseball, we've seen it year after year after year. Like the hot team, somebody gets hot and just rolls through the postseason, and Tampa's coming into this thing hot. So I don't know. And Texas feels like they just kind of really haven't had things go their way a lot this year. So I don't know. I'd probably go Tampa.
Tampa's like got Texas Tech. Go ahead, Fish.
Well, I was going to say Tampa's got 4 starting pitchers who are out for the season. 4 starting pitchers.
Yeah.
They have 3 guys in their lineup who are out for the rest of the regular season, and they just keep winning games. It's crazy. In Texas, they're going through problems. They've lost 3 of their starting pitchers as well. That's why Jordan Montgomery is now their ace, which is amazing to me. But Texas limped down the stretch, and I think that has a lot to do with it when it comes to this time of year.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say the same thing. I just think they came into the postseason kind of just like not lethargic, but like desperate, clinging, like we're glad that we're here. We made it by the skin of our teeth. Like it just seems like they came in crawling, and the Rays came in like this is going to be our year. We're going to shock the world. So I'm not a big believer in the Rangers. I don't think they're going to win that series.
No, I don't either. Jordan Montgomery, 10-11, a 3.20 ERA. His last 4 starts, he only allowed 2 runs, so he has been really good. Tyler Glasnow for Tampa, 10-7 with a 3.53. His problem is he only goes about 5 innings and then comes out of the game. But Tampa's been able to win, and regardless of what the problems have been with their starting pitching, they do have Glasnow in game 1. They do have Zach Eflin going in game 2. He'll go against Nathan Eovaldi. And then the Rangers will go with Dane Dunning in game 3. Tampa's yet to name their starter if there were to be a game 3. All 3 of those games played in Tampa. The winner will take on the Baltimore Orioles. This week, Memphis Grizzlies started training camp today. They started training camp today, and they got their open practice on Saturday, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. It's Saturday, October 7th at FedEx Forum. Don't miss the official start to the season with a plaza party that starts at 11 with inflatables, face painters. Ooh, you love those, don't you, Lang? And more.
You know me.
Doors open at 12:30, 1 p.m. practice start. The first 500 fans to enter will receive an autographed photo of a Grizz player. Open practice is free to the public, and fans are encouraged to RSVP for the event by going to grizzlies.com/open-practice. Fans who RSVP for open practice will be automatically entered to win one of 20 Bally Sports Plus subscriptions.
Hey.
Where you can watch me. Wow. All right. How about that?
Let me guess, Lane. The tiger face paint when you was a kid was that
for sure.
Jam?
Yeah. Or like Star Wars. Any of the Star Wars.
Yeah. Mine's was Star Wars. Yeah. I wasn't much for the tiger paint.
Yeah, I was more Darth Vader or something like that.
Yeah.
Stormtrooper.
I did kiss one year though.
Chewbacca. Oh, Kiss. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, did that one.
A young Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
No doubt. I can see that totally. Some other news around Major League Baseball this week. Buck Showalter's out as the Mets manager.
See ya. Not his fault.
Y'all got that man fired. You got your man fired.
Not my fault.
Y'all destroyed. It was that series that they had with y'all where you just put their face in the pavement, and they did not come up from that.
Clearly, I mean, look, that's one of those cases of like the roster sucks. There's no chemistry. I mean, they had to rebuild in the middle of the season. Like, what do you expect they're gonna do? So
yeah, it'll be interesting. John Stearns is their new general manager. He came over from Milwaukee, so
Craig Counsell.
A lot of speculation that Craig Counsell could be the next manager. I
don't know. I don't know how he's going to mix with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how
New
that's
York
gonna
media.
Go.
I don't know what type of manager you need what you need is what Joe Torre used to be. I mean,
Yes.
just a guy that can manage people and isn't a very well, and I'll say this until I'm done, but and I watched him every day. Not a good manager.
Joe Torre?
Not a good coach.
Mm.
Good manager of people, good manager
Right.
of situations, good manager of players, not a good coach.
They
And
also
so
might-
when he's been with teams that have been very good, they have succeeded because he's a good manager of people, I think. When he's with bad clubs, he's a disaster. So they need a guy like that. He's too old. He can't do it now. I mean, he's not going to be the manager, but someone like that, someone like Tony La Russa, but not Tony La Russa. But guys, someone like Jim Leland, but not.
What about
Jim Leland.
like a Brian Snitker type, or somebody like under the radar, like a baseball lifer, but like Snitker, managed throughout the minor leagues his whole life, and that's all he knows is how to manage people,
Right?
and keep a clubhouse calm and keep winning games. The other name I thought of just a second ago was Carlos Beltran, because remember, like, he was going to be the manager.
That's
then
right.
they had to fire him because he was involved in the whole Astros thing, right? But I think that was why he got fired. But anyway, they maybe enough time has passed, they can bring him back now or something like that.
Yeah, no doubt. I think time has passed enough that he should be allowed to come back.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Gabe Kapler fired. Farhan Zaidi, the general manager, said we lost baseball games when it mattered the most. And that's why they decided to go in another direction. Interesting to hear some of the names. One of the names for San Francisco is Bob Melvin. If he were to be fired from San Diego, that would give him jobs in San Diego, San Francisco, and Oakland. So that'd be kind of neat for Bob Melvin. But I guess that's a possibility. And who knows where else? Because I don't think we're done with hearing names of guys to get fired.
By the way, that would be a cop-out, Fish, for them to fire him, because he wasn't the issue there.
Yeah,
for the Padres. Oh,
no, he was not the issue. Like, that would be a complete
same with Showalter. But at the same time, like, look, it's the cheapest way to fix a problem is to fire the manager.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier to fire the manager than it is to trade half your roster. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and it shows you're doing something.
Yeah.
Aaron Boone is expected to return. Yankees not doing anything. He'll be back for another season with the Yankees. Baltimore's Felix Bautista will have Tommy John surgery. He will miss all of next season. So bad news for them. Terry Francona, done in Cleveland, gave his big farewell, and what a great manager. He's going to be in Cooperstown for the job that he did as a manager, and for one in particular, winning twice with the Boston Red Sox when they hadn't won in 80 years.
Yeah.
So that'll put him in there alone.
So he's done, right? Like he's had enough of managing. That's it.
Yeah.
Like
he probably could have managed. He probably could have managed Cleveland for as long as he wanted to.
Yeah.
Just hang around for 5 more years if he wanted to. But I think
his body's just broken on him. I mean, he can barely walk and get around.
What does he have to do? Just sits on the dugout the whole time.
I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, but 162 days.
I'm just saying, it's not like he's playing. Like, I don't know.
It does take a toll out of you. Walking to the mound that much.
Yeah, no kidding. Chicago White Sox. This is my favorite thing. White Sox lose 100 games. We keep hearing about the culture being terrible. Tim Anderson was asked if he's willing to change positions to go to second base, and he says, "Sure, it doesn't matter."
That might be the quote of the year.
That's great. AJ Hinch out as a skipper in Detroit, and Miguel Cabrera's career is over in Detroit as well. It's time to move on from that.
They should just make him the manager. Just roll him right over. Like, let him start managing right away.
Phil Nevin out as manager of the Angels of Anaheim. I'm not surprised.
I think that's also like the same as the Mets get the new GM, and like, you want your guy there because the Angels
that's all it is. Yeah, that's all it is, because he's done nothing to warrant getting fired. Like that was just an injury riddled team.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, does who has say on the manager? Does Mike Trout have say on who the manager is?
Mike Trout, I don't know if he has anything to say. What can you say? Well,
I mean, he's the one guy who's
what,
signed up long term. You might as well ask him. But I don't know.
ask
by the
for
way,
what? Ask,
AJ Finch did not get fired. By the way, I fired AJ Hinch. He did not get fired.
Oh, okay.
You fired him in your head.
I did. I thought he was fired, but he's not. He's not yet. At least he's not fired yet. But the Angels, interesting where they might go there. I mean, if you're not going to sign Shohei and you're going to open up trade for Mike Trout, it doesn't matter who you get. You can go get whoever you want. You can go get one of your minor league managers and let them just grow with the team. If you try to keep Shohei, if you try to keep Mike Trout or want to keep Mike Trout, well, then you're playing to win right now, and you need to get a manager to win right now. And I'm not sure who that is, but it would seem to me that
Buck Showalter.
We'll know their plan on what they plan to do based on who this managerial decision could be.
Yeah. If it's some guy we've never heard of, that means they're probably going to, trade everybody away.
Yeah, no kidding. The Oakland Athletics, Major League Baseball says they hope to vote on relocation in November for them to go to Las Vegas. Let's just get it over with and move on. A couple of other notes, a couple of passings this week. Tuesday, Brooks Robinson passed away at the age of 86. 18-time All-Star, 16-time Gold Glover, helped lead the Orioles to 2 World Championships, 1964 AL MVP, the 1970 World Series MVP, holds the record for most games where he drove in the only run in a 1-0 win with 10. The day that he died, the Orioles won their game 1-0. Fitting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see Brooks Robinson play. I was too young to watch really.
Same.
And when I could watch, he was way too old, so I never saw him. I've seen the highlights and heard. But the one thing that I've always heard about Brooks Robinson, he's the greatest third baseman to ever play the game. Greatest third baseman to ever play the game. Man, I've seen Nolan Arenado. I've seen Scott Rowland play every day. I can't imagine someone better than those two. Yet you still hear it about Brooks Robinson, and it just makes me think of how great he must have been.
You should have seen Chipper Jones play, Fish.
Oh, I saw Chipper play. He's all right.
It's the defense, Fish.
Yeah.
That's what put him over the top. I mean, you couldn't get.
I mean, but Arenado and Rowland, I've never seen better defensive players in my life.
Yeah, he was up, but Brooks Robinson was also a great offensive player too, right? Like, I mean, good enough, better than those guys probably. The one thing that you mentioned, like he played in whatever it was, 18 All-Star games or something. This is sort of related, but not. But I saw a stat the other day on Twitter that I didn't know this. That they were talking about Hank Aaron and that he had played in in a 12-year period, he played in 14 All-Star games or something like that, and that there was in the 60s there was about a 3 or 4 year period where they had 2 All-Star games a year. Because the Players Association was trying to make more money for the players, so they would put on a second All-Star game every year. So some of those guys, played 10 years, made 11 All-Star games or whatever like that.
Right.
It's weird that the All-Star stats are a little skewed for this one period of time.
Yeah. Also this week, former Boston Red Sox pitcher Tim Wakefield died at the age of 57. Spent 17 seasons with the Red Sox, winning World Series championships in 2004 and 7. Knuckleballer won 186 games in Boston, posted a 4.43 ERA and 590 appearances with the franchise. One of the great knuckleballers of all time.
Yeah.
Might be the greatest, man.
Hey, watch out now. Phil Necro takes exception to that.
I'm just saying, because he did it under pressure. He was doing it on a team that was cursed.
No. There's a great movie about the knuckleball. I think it was just called Knuckleball. I remember Wakefield was a big part of that. It's a documentary about knuckleballers and how they pitch and stuff. And his story was great because wasn't he an outfielder or infielder who was just not cutting it? And then one day he throws a knuckleball and they're like, oh wait, maybe this will work.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look at that. Yeah. Yeah. And then went on to have a remarkable career. But passed away this past week at the age of 57. My Cardinals betting, I finished the year over 500. I finished
Nice.
85-7 on the season betting Cardinals games. If I would have just bet against the Cardinals every game, I would have had an even better record.
Yeah.
But 85-77, very, very proud of my Cardinal records. All right, let's give our official pick on these 4 series. We got Arizona at Milwaukee. Who you going with?
I'll go Arizona.
I got Milwaukee.
I'm going Milwaukee as well.
All right.
Miami and Philadelphia.
Miami.
Oh,
I got Miami.
I want Miami to win, but I think Philadelphia is going to win. I'll go Philly.
Yeah, I'll go Philly too. Toronto and Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Same as
Minnesota.
Same as the last one. I want Minnesota to win, but I think Toronto's going to win.
All right. And then Texas and Tampa. I'll go Tampa.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
there you go. Now we will this wild card round will be done on Thursday. So we will be back. Normally we do the show every Monday. But we'll be back on Friday to recap these wild card rounds and to talk about the next series, the division series in both the National League and American League. They'll be set up on Friday, so we'll talk about that then. And then we'll get together again after the next round. So we'll be all over the place a little bit over the next couple of weeks. So just look for us here on Infield Fly.
Follow us on the Twitter or X whatever it is.
That's right. Follow on the X.
Follow Grind City Media. They'll let you know when the new.
Wait, who's the opening pitcher for your squad?
For who? The Braves?
Yeah.
We don't know yet. It's probably Max Fried though.
Max Fried?
Yeah.
That's decent.
That's pretty good. To go Fried and Strider.
Strider, and then the third game we're not sure.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
All right. Well, we'll find out more when we get here on Friday. That'll do it for us here today as the playoffs are underway. Enjoy the postseason this week. We'll talk again Friday when we look at the division series of both the National and American Leagues, and these wild card rounds will be done. Till then, for Murph, for Lang, I'm Fish. Have yourself a great week. Enjoy the baseball action. We'll talk again after this wild card round. We'll talk to you again here soon on Infield Fly on Grind City Media.